People of Twitter, behold my opinion. You guys alright? Wait. Ugh. Yeah. Yeah, was it something I said? Whoa. Phew. Huh? Whoa. Yeah, no thanks. No. Help! Greetings, fighters for the freedom of speech. I'm the Fedora Mask, and this is going to be a different kind of video. While it still has a connection to Minecraft, we're going to dive deep into some very hot opinions shared on the web, i.e., we're heading straight to Twitter. Told ya. Now Twitter, or X as some call it now, is still a popular social media site to follow people of interest, brands, news, and even voice your own opinions on stuff, with the latter being the selling point of the site, for better or worse. To give context to the worst part, I present to you this meme, an oldie, but still relevant to this day, and this very video. It is a tweet from Bravo Cooley stating, "Twitter is the only place where well-articulated sentences still get misinterpreted. You can say, 'I like pancakes,' and somebody will say, 'So you hate waffles?' No, bitch, that's a whole new sentence. WTF you talking about?" Amazing how some things just stay the same. As you can see, Twitter isn't exactly the most intellectual place on the internet, and that was before Elon came into the picture. Now with even less moderation, Twitter has become a hotbed for the spiciest and hateful opinions that get paid. I miss the days when rage posting was done for the love of the game, and not for monetary gain. A paycheck really does ruin the best of the internet, huh? But I digress. Where does Minecraft come into all of this? Well, it comes in the form of splash text. Now anyone who's ever played Minecraft knows splash text. It is a staple of the game after all. It is a message from Mojang right in the main menu. It can be in the form of a meme, pop culture reference, or something silly. The list of splash text is massive and increases with every update. At this point, you're probably connecting the dots. Clearly there was a splash text that Twitter users heavily disagreed with, one that sent them into a rage of intense keyboard clacking. So we're going to take a look at it and see what they have to say. Just a disclaimer before we dive in, there are going to be a lot of very spicy opinions thrown out here, so viewer discretion is advised. I also ask for those watching not to go on Twitter and confront the users in this video. It is clear that they're cemented in their opinions, and no amount of finger wagging will change that. Come to think of it, maybe I should just say don't go on Twitter, but regardless, let's check out the splash text that angered Twitter. And here we are, the post that started it all. From the user MitPosting stating, "Educate your friends on anti-racism. Who the fuck writes these?" You can really tell how emotional the OP is with their text written in all caps. Very serious. So some of you might already know where this is going, but hold on to your fedora, because this rabbit hole has a few twists and turns. But first, let's look into this whole anti-racism thing. According to the Minecraft wiki, it is a statement in support of Black Lives Matter, a social movement that aims to point out acts of racism, mostly carried out by law enforcement, and hold those who commit said acts accountable. Overall, not a bad message with good intentions, but in the world of Twitter, it might as well be a declaration of war, and that ain't hyperbole either. Considering the post has over 37,000 likes as of the day of its creation, the idea of anti-racism definitely has some opponents. Now it's time to see what the philosophers of our time have to say about the subject. Get ready to be enlightened. Let's start off with some basic tweets. A Martin Jesuit asks, "What if I'm anti-racism? Very cute. That's a double negative. It just means you're racist, fella." Monkey proclaims, "Probably like one mandatory staff troop." This one really makes me shake my head. The subject is racism. Why do some feel the need to drag trans people into the fray? Do they think every minority group is a part of this little anti-racism text? That's a rhetorical question, but I feel like I'm going to get the answer regardless later on. And don't think that mandatory part escapes me. That's a topic we'll get into later on. And I know Mojang's production is usually in question, but I'm sure their team has credentials. The most troubling part of this post? The 2.5k likes. So much positive feedback to unwarranted blind hatred to a Mojang employee they made up in their heads. Let's move on to Please Stop Talking Comics. What a name. Do they not like it when people talk about comics? Or are they against comics that can talk? I don't know. Anyway, they say, in my current modded instance, I replaced the splash text file with one that was just a copy of the racial slurs list from Wikipedia. Improved gameplay experience. Seriously? In what way do slurs improve the gameplay? Especially since the splash text is only on the main menu screen. Sounds like a ton of work just to be an awful person. Multifunction Idiot says, religious instruction is fine as long as we pretend it's not religion. At least they live up to their name. Yeah, there has to be a religion around the whole anti-racist talk to be religious. For some reason, words against hatred are being passed off as dogma from a cult, as if diversity can only be achieved through indoctrination, instead of, I don't know, letting others live their lives in peace. Come to think about it, a religion that preaches the good of diversity and the evils of racism does seem pretty cool. Not to this multifunction idiot, apparently. Let's dive deeper into this love fest. Rain Herntz says, this is why my kids can't play Minecraft. I'm gonna need more context into why anti-racism is something your kids shouldn't know about. Is it that you really want your kids to grow up racist? Or are you going for the systemic route and pretend racism isn't a thing? Either way, it's not a good look. I hope one day your kids will break away from your bigoted ideals and also get to play Minecraft too. It's a pretty cool game, you know. Daniel Labard says, looks like Minecraft just became gay. Again, this whole thing is about racism, and yet these weirdos want to shoehorn all minority groups into whatever enrages them at the time. I honestly can't imagine a sadder existence. Aaron Miff says, last time I opened Minecraft, I saw the trans rights one and no longer wanted to play. Probably the pick for weeniest post on this thread. One would say this could be Mojang's fault for adding progressive text to their game, but if the thought of acknowledging the struggles of a minority group for a split moment on a screen bothers you so much you cannot play anymore, I think the community is just better off without you. Surfer hits us hard with their hot take. We need Notch and Hitler back. Now, the latter needs no introduction, but for those who don't know, Notch is the original creator of Minecraft, and sold it for billions to Microsoft. Nowadays, he posts on Twitter a lot, either game dev updates, random posting, or having spicy takes on progressive movements. Wouldn't it be weird to see him respond to the original post? Anyway, 57 Harrier Strike says, leftoids be like, I need bites of propaganda constantly shown to everyone or Hitler will rise from the grave. I absolutely love the fact that these two posts are right on top of each other. Really shows the mindset of these people. So others decided to challenge Harrier Strikes, which leads them to make this post. Yes, racism as a term was invented by leftists for political propaganda purposes. Pathologizing healthy behavior is malicious. Just wow. What can you even say about this? Basically, this one is saying racism is a natural occurrence, and anything preventing it is bad. This is real caveman talk right here. We're not tribal anymore. We have to trust each other in order to live in modern society. But they want everyone's primordial fear to run their lives. Tweets and Moobs calls it how it is. Over here, Meta is showing the splash text is official, and not by mods that were installed. This is where Chet drops a very hot take. All DEI, anti-white, propaganda is pushed from the top down by Jewish, not white, hedge funds, like Larry Flank and BlackRock. It is done to weaken and subvert white countries. Oh boy, there's a lot to talk about this post. First of all, DEI isn't anti-white. While it does help people of color, it extends that help to the LGBT, the elderly, and veterans. So people who can be white, but also happen to fall into other possible discriminated groups. And would you look at that, we finally got the Jews into this conspiracy. You know it was only a matter of time. Also, the not white in parentheses is a nice touch, just so there's no confusion in this mess. It's so weird that the concept of Mojang being sincere and speaking out against racism is such a foreign concept that some have to make it a grand conspiracy. So Jewish-owned hedge funds are planting a series of splash text into a block game to destroy white people somehow? Splash text that, by the way, isn't there most of the time. So what does ridding the world of white people even accomplish for a hedge fund? That's the question I want to know. Money is still green no matter who holds it. And come on, have you ever seen Jens and Agnes, the current faces of Mojang? You're telling me these two are in cahoots with an anti-white conspiracy? They'd disappear in a sour cream factory. Also on Chet's thread, he calls a historical tragedy a narrative, so I think his views on Jews might be a tad biased. Yeah, I could go on like this. There's plenty to look at and take apart. But let's dive deeper underneath the waves and get to the real treasure of this whole shebang. Remember when I said, wouldn't it be weird if Notch replied to the original post? Well, guess what? He did. And he says, people who don't realize they're being evil, in response to who writes the anti-racism splash text. Yeah, it's pretty disappointing to see, but not at all surprising. Ever since he sold Minecraft, Notch has posted many spicy takes on Twitter, and apparently, he's felt like this long before his Microsoft meal ticket. It is rather depressing to see a creator of a game many hold so close to their hearts turn out to be an angry schmuck. I imagine this is how trans fans of Harry Potter feel. You'd think knowing his fans come from all across the world, hailing from different races and cultures and whatnot would have mended his biases, but here we are. Now let's focus on the post, because as short as it is really telling of Notch's thought process. I especially find the don't realize part to be very interesting, pinning Mojang not as the scheming mastermind, but rather an unwitting fool carrying out the machinations of a greater force, whatever that might be. And the big scheme here? To end racism? No, that would be too straightforward. I bet he'll cough up the same talking points as Chet. I wouldn't put it past him. It's so weird to scroll down Notch's timeline, at least at the time of the original post. It was mostly updates to his new game, Levers and Chests, and posts that show his own brand of quirkiness. It's actually a pretty fun ride, up until something like this hits you in the face. It's really jarring. Then again, Notch is a billionaire. He could be doing a lot worse, like funding extremist groups, or hiring his own private militia. So overall, I'm content with him just shaking a virtual fist at feminist groups. Knock yourself out, Notch. Of course, Notch has a following of his own, so let's see what they have to say real quick. Oh, we got a certified classic right here. Ralph states, "Go woke, go broke," a saying that spells a pending doom on a corporate entity trying to sprinkle a little progressiveness to their media. But we are talking about Minecraft here, the best-selling game of all time, and when pressed on the topic, they couldn't keep the argument going. Here's another for the weenie category. Sheeta Maid proclaims, "I love it when I get home from a long day and boot up a game, only to be greeted by someone else's political view. Really throws a wrench in the immersion department. By the time the title screen is up and I hear the music, I shouldn't be thinking about anything in real life at that point, in my honest opinion. First of all, racism is a human rights issue, not political. Second, what's with this framing? I'm just a blue-collar man, coming back from work, kicking off my boots, cracking open a Miller Lite, ready to play my block game until it reminds me colored people exist. Now I don't have the energy for it. Look, I get wanting escapism from a video game, but we're talking about splash text here, not a 30-minute PSA of the evils of racism. I feel like it's a petty thing to get all worked up about, and that's my honest opinion." So we've seen what Twitter has to say about the whole anti-racism thing, but let's circle back to the one that brought it up to begin with, Mida posting. Out of curiosity, I wanted to know a little bit more about them, and after seeing their profile, I really wish I hadn't bothered. Here we have their profile, and a quick little pro tip for anyone unfamiliar with Twitter. Having little anime girls on the banner is a major red flag. Looks like they mostly repost stuff, mainly having to do with little anime girls, but things fall off the rails real quick. Like this repost from Satana is my wife, one with text so foul, I don't feel comfortable reading it out loud, especially the first half. And if you think that was not so bad, look at this repost from Snack. Now the whole liking little anime girls has taken a much darker turn. I'm sure there'll be at least one person watching this and will proclaim, "They're just fictional girls, it's not real, it's not the same." If you are that person, please close this video, I don't want your view. And also, feast your eyes on this. Mida has reposted pics of a small-looking real-life individual at a museum and quoted it with, "You should have been my wife." Absolutely disgusting behavior. This was screenshot by Aziziel, who's asking the real questions. Mida then made a response to this post, with a gif of a dancing hamster I presume, neither confirming nor denying the allegations. Not a good look. After a little deep dive, the poster of the museum pics is older than she appears, so this may not technically be predatory behavior, but given Mida's other posts we've seen, we all know why they were interested. Not that it matters, this is a creepy thing to do regardless of the recipient's age. So you might think an anti-progressive little anime girl lover might be a weird combo. Not here on Twitter. These profiles exist in the thousands, and whenever there is culture war discourse on the site, you can bet a few of these creeps rear their ugly little heads. I know this has nothing to do with the original post, but I just wanted to say, be careful with who you respond to or retweet. You just might expose your followers to a degenerate. Alright, I didn't want this to be a call-out video. Okay, maybe towards Mido with that last bit. But all in all, these posts are dancing around their main belief. But Nathan Palmer here rips the band-aid right off by saying, educate them by saying it really means anti-white. This is what I believe is the true reason behind this whole shindig. These poor social media users feel threatened by the supposed rise of other cultures, fearing it will lead to their oppression and eventual erasure. It must be exhausting thinking everyone outside of your conformity is out to get you. But don't feel too bad for them, because they are more than willing to dish out the very intolerance they fear will be placed on them, which in turn makes them unliked by most, especially those not chronically online. That's so much irony I could craft a stack of anvils. Now, you can debate whether or not Mojang was sincere with their anti-racism splash text, but I do believe their original message has been twisted and bastardized by the good people of Twitter, all to instill fear and anger onto others. Overall, Mojang said they like pancakes, others accuse them of hating waffles. So yeah, I have to agree with you, Notch. There are people who don't realize they're being evil. I just don't think they are who you want them to be. So it's almost been a full year since the original post. So maybe there's a chance things have gotten better, huh? Oh no. And thus, we've come to the end of this special episode of the Fedora Show. Thanks for watching. I know this isn't my usual stomping ground, but I thought it was interesting to talk about. So what do you think about this whole situation? Do you think companies like Mojang should speak up about cultural topics? Or should they just keep their mouths shut? I'd love to hear what you think. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. I'll soon return to spotlighting bizarre Minecraft content, so be sure to subscribe to check out the madness. So until we meet again, I'm the Fedora Mask, and I tip my fedora to you. Huh? Whoa! Alright, let's go.